Donald Trump turns 77 years old this week. And if he wins in 2024 at 78, he would be the oldest person ever elected to serve as president. Joe Biden was 77 when he won in 2020. Now, in spite of Trump's advanced age, we know less about his overall health and medical history than any other modern president. Joe Biden's age and health, it's worth noting here, have become a major focus of the start of the 2024 campaign. Now, not knowing about Trump is on purpose. Trump has, at every turn, sought to keep his health record shielded from the public, choosing instead to simply insist, and have others insist, that he is remarkably healthy and hale, and no more questions about that need to be asked. Done. But the question does actually need to be asked. What exactly do we know of Donald Trump's health? Let's start from roughly the beginning. Although he had once said that all candidates for president should release their medical records, Trump himself repeatedly promised and then reneged on those promises to do so. Quote, "As a presidential candidate, I have instructed my longtime doctor to issue within 2 weeks a full medical report. It will show perfection," Trump tweeted in early December 2015. What he did release eventually was a letter from his personal physician, a guy named Dr. Harold Bornstein, that made a series of outrageous claims. "His physical strength and stamina are extraordinary," the letter read in part. "If elected, Mr. Trump, I can state unequivocally, will be the healthiest individual ever elected to the presidency. Ever!" Now, in September 2016, Trump said, and I'm quoting here, "I've given a letter from a doctor. He's actually a great doctor, but that's okay. But he gave me a very strong letter," in defending Bornstein. And in that same interview, he said he would love to give full reports and love to give specifics. Later that same month, he released a one-page letter, again from Bornstein, that provided more details on his health, including his cholesterol levels, blood sugar, and weight. Trump, by the way, was technically overweight at that time, but not technically obese. Now, while in the White House, Trump submitted to an annual physical, although the reports from the White House physician were spun to suggest, again, that Trump was in remarkable health. In 2018, Dr. Ronny Jackson, who went on to serve in Congress and emerge as one of Trump's leading defenders in that body, said he had incredible genes and repeatedly described the president's health as excellent. In November 2019, Trump made an unannounced and unscheduled visit to Walter Reed Hospital outside of Washington. The White House insisted that visit was just for routine tests. But Mike Schmidt, the terrific New York Times reporter, reported in a book on the Trump White House that Vice President Mike Pence was on standby to take over the powers of the presidency if Trump had to undergo a procedure that would have required him to be anesthetized. So there's that. Then it was in 2020 when Trump contracted COVID-19. White House physician Sean Conley offered decidedly misleading information about the then president's condition, a strategy he described as, quote, reflecting the upbeat attitude, end quote, of Trump. We later learned Trump's condition was far more serious than he or Conley let on at the time. There were fears he might have to be put on a ventilator due to his low blood oxygen levels. What little do we then know about Trump's health? Well, taking all the public reports together, we know he is overweight bordering on obese, has a common form of a heart disease, and maintains bad bordering on terrible eating and exercise habits. Now, let me take a minute to talk about those eating and exercise habits, because there's been a lot written about it and it's pretty interesting. So Trump is a devotee of McDonald's. 2 Big Macs, 2 Filet-O-Fish, and a chocolate malted apparently is his go-to order, and he loves fast food more generally. "One bad hamburger, you can destroy McDonald's," Trump said on the campaign trail in 2016 of his affection for fast food, adding, "One bad hamburger and you take Wendy's and all these other places and they're out of business. I like cleanliness, and I think you're better off going there than maybe someplace that you have no idea where the food is coming from." So there's that. Then there's his theory on exercise, where Trump adheres to what's best described as the battery theory. He believes that every person is born with a certain amount of life force. Exercise depletes that life force unnecessarily. Yes, that is what he in fact does believe. In 2018, following Trump's physical, Ronny Jackson told reporters that, quote, "Right now, on a day-to-day basis, the president doesn't have a dedicated, defined exercise program." In response to Jackson, Trump said famously / infamously, "I get exercise. I mean, I walk, I this, I that," adding that, "I run over to a building next door. I get more exercise than people think." Aside from playing golf, which Trump does do regularly, there's no available evidence that he works out regularly or even occasionally. Add it all up and you get, well, an incomplete picture. The honest truth is that we simply don't know enough about Trump's health to make an honest assessment of it. We don't know nearly enough, in truth. which is ironic, because in 2016, Trump sought to make a campaign issue out of Hillary Clinton's health, and he's already signaling in overt ways that one of the main thrusts of his 2024 campaign will be focused on questions about Biden's age and mental competence. What's remarkable is despite the decidedly limited amount of information we have on Trump's health and his advanced age, the public is far less concerned with it than they are with the same issues for Joe Biden. In a Washington Post ABC News poll released in May, almost 7 in 10, 68% of people said they believed Biden was too old for another term. Just 44% said the same of Trump. So what? Trump's efforts to obfuscate and spin his health have largely worked. The public at large has far less concern about his ability and acuity than they do about Biden's, despite the fact that we know far more about the current president's health and medical past than we do about Trump's.